Hello, everyone, and welcome to this exciting episode of From Page to Stage. Now, I'm particularly excited to introduce two gorgeous people. Now, it's not often that you will get me interviewing a pair of people at once, but these two come as an item these days. And they've got their own podcast, which is why I'm really excited to share this opportunity, this interview with you, because these guys I love dearly. We've traveled some time together, and they are both, well, okay, I introduced them. They came together on a program that I was running, and both of them met that way. So this is why I have a very, very large shaped hole in my heart for these two. So let me introduce you to Deva Perriman in New Zealand and Teena Ryan in Perth. Deva, as he's known for short, and Teena together form the Divine Mess podcast, which is absolutely glorious. And I'm so proud of these two as well as of them. Because how many episodes have we got to now, guys?
Recorded by that time is 48. Yeah, we are 48.
Oh, so good. So good. Okay. So, right. Well, what I'm going to ask you to do is just give us a little bit of an introduction as to who you are and where you've come from. Ladies first.
That's a really good question, and it could be really long, but I'll keep it super short because I have a tendency to talk, as we well know. Who I am. Well, let's do all the label-y stuff first. Mother of four, partner to a divine man, and we create our own divine mess. Mother to two fur babies, stylist, creator, mentor, intuitive strategist, whichever the way the wind blows on a particular day as to which hat I like to put on. And today it is a great friend to you two beautiful people, and Jim Bunny for later on today. Cool. So there's lots.
We'll come back to that. We'll pick up on something from that in a minute. But Deva, can you share a bit about who you are?
Yeah, I can go more structured compared to Teena. So I'm going to try to. No, I'm Deva. I'm the cosmic guide at the Hero's Mystic, where we help you to slay your inner demons and awaken the inner hero within you. And this has been a journey because I started off like in the field of counseling and psychology. And then initially the start was engineering, but that's another story. We can't go there. Wendy's like shaking her head, like saying no. So
I just can't see you ever as an engineer, Deva. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nor can I now. But it was the case like a few years ago. Yeah. But I've been in the field for like 13 years plus, in the field of psychology and counseling. Life coaching is where I met Wendy like 6 years ago. This is the confirmed timeline, right? 6 years ago, right? Because we have been debating constantly about, is it like 5 years? Is it like 6 years? So 6 years ago, we met for a program for life coaching. And then for the past 5 years, I've been in New Zealand, where I really delved into spiritual coaching. And that's where I came up with the Hero's Mystic, where it's all, for me now, the journey is all about delving, like in the spiritual realm. And that's why on a weekly basis, I have fun with my co-host, Teena, every week to talk about spirituality, and now we'll welcome guests. So if anyone listening, please, you're most welcome to join us. And I'm sure there will be a space for us later to talk more about Divine Mess. So that's a bit about me as well. Yeah. Not
Beautiful.
so structured.
Thank you. So my next question to both of you was, this is from page to stage. So Teena, which came first for you, writing or speaking?
Well, the speaking. So we met, what, 3-4 years ago, I think,
Something like that.
at a networking event. Wendy was my first networking friend, and she kind of was gentle enough to guide me. And then we caught up again, I think about 18 months after that, and we were having a lovely cup of tea at our favourite little tea spot, and we were chatting about TEDx. I have no idea how the conversation came about, divinely guided, I'm guessing. And then Wendy said, I'm running a program on something like that. So it ended up that I joined Wendy's program and uncovered a few things about myself. That speaking was not my natural habitat and was cathartic, I think is a good word for it, in letting go a lot of stuff that I had held on to. And then the book came. So Wendy and I co-authored a book. I know there's another one brewing in there at the moment, but that it will come easy when it is meant to. So we will just allow it to brew for a little bit longer. But, you know, the first book was, would you like to? You've got 2 weeks for your submission. It flew out of my hand, through the pen onto paper, and the rest, they say, is history. So that was a fabulous experience to do that.
And you did a phenomenal job when we actually did the book launch.
Oh, that was a bit horrendous, but hard and good at the same time. So, but lots of amazing humans.
There's been the speaking back to the writing, and then now to the speaking again, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, and it's easy. It is easy, and it's a joy every single week to sit with my friend and hang out and just chat all the stuff that we love to chat about. And it's never a chore. Like, I think when you have something that is easy like that, it's best to pursue it, because it always means it's a good thing.
Yeah. And as you say, the pair of you spark each other off beautifully. So David, do you want to come in on this one and answer that question in terms of, for you, which came first, speaking or writing?
Yeah, for me as well, it would be like the speaking first. I would say, like, I started writing about stuff like since teenage, you know, like, but never publish it. But as a published author, that would be after the speaking. But I started my journey in speaking as a Toastmaster. So that's where really I trained my skill, and still I trained for a few years into that. And then I met, and then you were discussing about your program as well. And that's where I met Teena as well. And it was another perspective on speaking, another light on speaking as well. And like Teena said, like, the podcast for me as well, it's not like, oh yeah, I have to do one more episode. Oh yes, it just flows naturally. And even the writing experience, for me, the writing experience, like, I just got the 3 a.m. writing, you know, like, it just flew like at 3 a.m. and I just type it in. Yeah, and just type. And the chapter that I wrote was basically a part of my life, and it was a reflection as well for me. It became like a self-reflection. And yeah, it was really a proud moment for me, because that brought my family as well and I closer, I would say, because that's part of the story that they didn't know. So this allowed me to open up to the world as well, and also my friends who didn't know, like, mostly about me. They thought, like, yeah, you're a coach, so you get everything sorted. And that's when they see, oh, actually there was a story that you became, you know, like who you are right now. So I feel that in everyone who says, like, oh, I don't know how to write, you don't need to be published, but you know how to write, you know how to express yourself even through speaking. And we are doing that every day. Yeah. So for me, it goes deeper than that, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I find that the authors I've been working with over the last couple of years, and yes, hold on a minute. To hand, the book Teena and I did together, The Awakened Feminine, and then the one that I curated later on last year, Making a Difference. And one of the things I found is that authors can be a bit reluctant to actually start speaking about their work. My work speaks for itself type thing. And both of you two have shared pretty deep stuff in your chapters. And I find a lot of authors they've poured their heart and soul into the actual writing of it. You don't want me to talk about it as well, do you? I mean, come on. So this is where I find that the idea of doing podcasts is a toe in the water, because it's a one-on-one conversation, but slightly more than a one-on-one with you two gorgeous people. But the point is that it's not that tricky to talk to one person. And if the host, like you two, and I hope me as well, it's conversational in style, then you go, okay, maybe I can talk about this. And as you both know, I'm very keen on the duty of care thing, so that when you do share deep traumatic stuff, that you do it from a place of your scars, not your wounds, and the wisdom that you've learned as a result of it. So, okay, so both of you came to speaking to published writing, although Deva, you've been writing since the year dot, haven't you? You just didn't have it published. And that's the point. You don't have to have things published. I was talking to a gentleman, I was interviewing a gentleman the other day who is actually somebody I introduced you to, Deva, who's a published author, but he's also a poet, and he's never published. So I was suggesting, well, come on, that's a good avenue, because that's part of your creativity. The danger is always, what will people think of me? And that's a biggie, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say then, Teena, what prompted you to write the book?
Oh, I think it was, obviously we worked together for almost the 12 months, I think, when the opportunity for the book had come up. And I think it was a kind of like a nice tying off to the end of the course, because that 12 months had given me the confidence and the ability to, like you say, talk about the scars, not the wounds, so to speak, which it's a big transition. And I think it's one that people may slightly underestimate as to how to go about speaking about it without it getting emotionally difficult. I mean, there still are sometimes where you go, oh, this feels really uncomfortable, but I think it's more uncovering extra layers as you go through. But for me, it was, it's interesting where Deva had said that his chapter in his book made the family go, oh, okay, that's a different way. Whereas mine had the complete opposite effect with some members of my family. They could comment on the structure and the timing and the fluidity of the writing, but the actual subject matter of the writing was far too emotionally deep for them to, I think, if they read it more as an internal thing for themselves, it was like opening Pandora's box, and for a lot of people, when it comes to their own traumas and their wounds, they're not prepared to look. They don't want to look. Whereas Deva and I like to look. Sometimes not really, but, we do anyway, because we know it's a part of the process of becoming better, well-rounded souls on our human journey. You know, we understand that we have to traverse these things in order to be able to help others. And if we don't look at our shiz, then someone's going to put a mirror up to make us look at it. So the quicker you get it done yourself, the less likely that the universe is going to chuck, you know, the crazy house of mirrors up in front of you.
And it's done then, not exactly on your terms, but you're more of aware of the timing of it rather than the, hello, have you got this? And I think we've all been there, haven't we?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I would like to go back to the point you said, like, Wendy, you know, like in terms of the fear, like what would people think? Because I think like us, everyone here, like we were, when we started writing, like we had that thought, like what would people say about this? You know, like I definitely had that. And that's one writer's block, you know, like that became like a block for me initially at the start. But then it's like once you pass that, it's like you accept yourself. For me, it's like going into that acceptance. No, you're a writer, like you're a born writer. You know how to write, and your stories matter. You know, like it's like you keep saying to us, like your voice matter.
Yeah.
And sometimes whatever you're going to write is going to trigger people because they don't like what they are seeing in themselves. It's not what they are seeing in your story, because it's what they can't see for themselves, and you're pointing that out, and you're putting that in a, you know, like it's published worldwide, like it's on Amazon, you know, like anyone can buy it worldwide, so anyone can read your story. And once you accept yourself, so any comment that come back to you, you will be like, yeah, that's okay, I can see your point, I can understand, but this is not my perspective on it. I already accepted myself. I love myself like how I am. So it's all good, you know?
Yeah. And you're quite right, because that can be a block to actually getting the writing done. And then, as we've said, that then becomes the block as to actually getting it verbalized out loud. And a lot of people think that speaking has to be from a live stage, or it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, as I said, the podcast is the ideal way of starting to talk. It's not therapy. It's not sort of catharsis, because you've done that work already in the writing. And how you language it when you speak out loud. As you know, I'm very keen on that duty of care element for the people that I work with. But that's really important, that you can actually share some pretty deep stuff and still be able to get the essence of it over without the re-traumatization. But yeah, thank you guys. Okay, so both of you, we've kind of flip-flopped from the speaking to the writing to the speaking again, which is lovely. My point that for you guys in the audience is that these guys have done it. They've done it, and so can you, because I can tell you that both of them have written very powerful chapters. And some of the things that they discuss week by week on the Divine Mess podcast, they go into some deep stuff. They really do. So I highly recommend that you listen in, because we have the divine masculine and the divine feminine perspectives on all sorts of wonderful topics. On that then, guys, tell us a bit more about the premise. I've just given a tiny little snapshot, but it's your baby. Tell us a bit more about that. Whoever wishes to go first, carry on.
Leave the mom to do that. Go, mom.
Get out of town, seriously.
That's past.
Yeah, that was a nice handball there, my friend. I think it was just when we were working with you, Wendy, it was a moment when I asked Deva a question about something in his personal life. And I was like, oh, should I have really asked that? You know, because we were friends, but you don't know how far to press it. But it was from personal experience that made me go, oh, you need to ask yourself some more questions. So I shot him a message and went, I remember where I was sitting when I messaged him. about the question. And then from then on, we just became the fastest friends. And we kept having these amazing conversations through Messenger and Instagram. And, you know, it was meme after meme and question after question and all of this sort of stuff. And then we kind of kept toying with the idea we should release our, you know, consciousness streams that come through Messenger and Instagram. And we kept seesawing on the idea of a podcast. And you look on Spotify and anybody would freak out to go, there's over 5 million podcasts on Spotify. So what makes us think that we can do it? And then I was walking the dogs and was listening to Mel Robbins, and Mel Robbins was voicing exactly the same thing I had been voicing to myself about who's going to give a flying hoot as to whether, you know, what we have to say. And then she went, you know what, just do it. And so I messaged him and I said, I'm sick of my own crap. Let's get on, get it done. And every Tuesday, without fail, we just started having conversations and we recorded it. And then, you know, the name kind of came, I think, while we were still chatting with you. And I think it's an interesting topic where men and women, the concept of friendship is always a challenging one, but we seem to make it work. My partner calls him my second husband. How's your second husband going? So we just have this really nice energetic balance. And I think it's a lovely conversation every week about the Netflix special, which is my life, and the Netflix special that is his life. And we just tune into each other and go, okay, what's today about? Sometimes we press record and we don't even know, you know, which is not a formatted
no.
way of rolling about things, but we're an energetic flow. So we just do that. Does that kind of cover it?
Yeah, I mean, from your perspective, Deva, I mean, has Teena encapsulated it, or is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, she did, like the Mel Robbins bit, you know, like I remember she texted me and said, like, just record it, because initially before that, we did record, like, I was looking at that the other time, like we did record 4 episodes before that, before we actually did the Divine Mess.
Right.
But it was like random, you know, like it was not like, we were not into it, like we were not sure of the name, we were not sure, because the name came through like one of the authors of the book that I co-authored with. Her chapter was called The Divine Mess, and she was talking about that, and I was like, that's what we talk about every single time with Teena, so why not, like, and then we went for that, you know, like, and she liked the name, and then we just created it and we just press record. And I think that's the difference between the first time we tried and the second time we actually did it, because we just went for it, because there was a gap between the first time. There was a lot happening in both our life, and then we just said, yeah, enough is enough, we're just going to do it, and it's just pressing record. And I feel like with life, that's how it is, you know, like you have this one idea, this one intuition that keep nagging you, and then you just have to do it, like Nike says, you know, like you just do it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And we like Teena said, like for 50 weeks plus now, we have been every single week pressing record. Like, even if we don't have a topic to talk about, like we are not sure what we are talking about, I'm sure Wendy will be like, that's a no for me. Definitely. She doesn't like
that's
that.
how you two work, and you thrive on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you joke about me sort of talking about some structure, but hello, boys and girls, we've actually got a weekly commitment. If that's as much structure as you want to do, that's fine. But the point is that you've actually got a weekly commitment. You've honoured it. I mean, hello, nearly 50. It's got an entire year under your belt of regular, every week, putting it out there. So I really want to honour you two, because I mean, how many podcasts fold after about 10 episodes? I think statistically it's quite a lot.
Yeah, I think we are in the top 10% now. We are going to reach the top 2.5. That's the aim.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what's the criteria for hitting those targets. Do you know?
I think like in terms of the number of downloads, for if you want to be in the top 2.5 in the world, then it become like the downloads. But the top 10 that I'm talking about is like podcasts normally start and then they stop like after 5 or 6 or 10. Normally after 5 or 6, you will see a lot of podcasts started and then they just drop.
Right. Yeah. Well, congratulations on your persistence.
Thank
Keep
you.
going. And it is a fabulous thing. I mean, as I said to you guys before, if I get to a Friday morning and I haven't had my weekly fix of the divine mess, I go, hang on, something missing. Where are we? So, and one of the things that, because you guys are purely audio for the divine mess, aren't you? You're not a video session.
Yeah. At the moment, like I do have the like all the videos. Could upload it in the future. And yeah, that's in the plans to happen, like so that we can do like, because there's plenty of things we can do, like I would like to go into YouTube short as well in the future, into that, like just doing the YouTube.
Yeah.
Because we had some guests as well, and they have asked like if they can do they can have the video to be uploaded in their network as well.
I was one of them.
Yes. And so we have all those options. Like it's just like we are going to do it. But I know like with us, it's all about the divine timing. Like we thrive on that. To other people, it might seem like a lazy or laid back, very Kiwi type of approach. But we did thrive on that. And like you said, like we did manage to show up, and we are really grateful, like to you, because you are the one who connected both of us. So without the program that you had, like no way I would have dreamt, like, after 1 year saying like, yeah, I have a podcast now. Like, no freaking way. So thank you so much for that. I'm really grateful.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So the podcast, you mentioned that you record it on a Tuesday, but it actually gets released on the Wednesday, doesn't it? Well, Wednesday for Australasia, Europe.
Yeah.
Still Tuesday for US and Canada. Right.
So for Perth time, it's 8:08. Schedule every Wednesday at 8:08.
Nice.
So welcoming abundance in there. And for the US, I think it's like minus 12 hours or 13 hours.
Depending on where you are. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
How exciting. So that goes up on Podbean, Spotify, Apple?
Google. It goes on Google. I think on Google as well at the moment. So we do, our post is like automatically uploaded on Facebook and LinkedIn, the post.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure at the moment we have a glitch with the Facebook one. It's not uploading. So normally once it's published, it should be on my Facebook. So my Facebook, my name is like Kirti Deva Perwan, so anyone will have the link as well.
You don't have a specific Facebook page for the Divine Mess?
No, we don't have at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just on each other social media.
Okay.
So it goes on my LinkedIn as well, and Teena does share it again with her network as well.
Sure.
And the guests that we had, they share it with, because I send them individually as well, the post, so that they can share it with their network as well. Yeah.
So what we'll do, audience, is we will make sure that the links to both of these guys' socials are in there. And I literally half an hour ago, before we started this conversation, shared the link to a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Deva, who actually was the publisher, wasn't she, of your book?
Yeah. No,
but she was in it. No. She was in it with you.
I don't think so. I don't remember.
She interviewed you. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I keep sharing things as well. because these guys are absolutely brilliant. So please do listen in and have some fun. Just carry with the divine mess that the pair of them talk about, because I'm sure that you will actually recognize a few things in your own life. May not be exactly the same, but there will be threads in there that you go, yep, I can relate to that one. So if you have the courage to go, put yourself in those positions and go, yeah, this may be uncomfortable. Well, it's messy, isn't it? Life is. But that's the point. If you can put yourself in the position that these two are talking about and go, yeah, how would I react in that situation? You've asked those questions that started these two with a deep and meaningful relationship in the first place. Brilliant. Okay, so we've got the podcast and we'll make sure that those links are up. Are there anything special that you'd like to offer our audience?
Oh, well, that would be a interesting, interesting one. I don't know. What do you think, Dee?
We can offer like in terms of the coaching, you know, like they can like have a session like an introductory call, 1 hour call with us for, you know, like to know, because we both offer like different, it's not different style you can call of coaching maybe, or more in the divine
slightly different. Yes,
slightly
the
different.
masculine and the feminine to it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean that's not specifically. I happen to be a female body. You may be a male body. You're looking at the energy from that perspective, aren't you? It's not. It's not the physicality. Yeah.
It's all about like if you want the more structured and logical, you know, approach in terms of things, you know, of your life, then it's more into the divine masculine, where the divine feminine is more about the being, like just be and relax a bit. You know,
It's
like
the
be in the
receivership
moment.
and the surrender, right?
The surrender
favorite
part,
word, Teena. Your favorite word, surrender.
which Teena loves to do, like surrender all the
do.
time.
I can relate to that one.
I
Big
do.
time.
Well, you
Which we
did. You
all
surrendered something completely different and went and trotted to the other side of the world, so to speak. So you let go and you gave something else a crack. So I think you're the fine example of surrender, my good friend.
And there we are, having left 10 years worth of Perth, and I'm now in Malaysia.
It's a beautiful place to be.
How long for? That's open to confirmation.
That's going back in the divine feminine when you say, I'm going to allow and surrender.
I'm learning that part as well. So audience, this is where you see it's important that I can show you these guys know what they're talking about. And that's why I listen in to them, because I can sit there and go, I want to hear this, but I need to hear this. So I would thoroughly encourage you to catch in with the divine mess. It's recorded, it's released every week. You can pick it up anytime. That's the joy. It's not a live show that you have to be there and then to listen to it. So thank you very much for that, guys. As we're kind of winding up, this is a bit of a tricky situation because I've got two of you there. Now, I would love to have an in-depth conversation with both of you, but I'm also aware that we can backwards and forwards on this one. But both of you have done the speaking, done the writing. I mean, Teena, are you doing much writing at the moment?
I haven't for a while. I've just sort of kicked back into the stream of consciousness in one's journal. So we will see where it leads, because I have found that there's been a longing to do it, and feel like, you know, it's a puzzle piece missing when you don't do it. So yeah, the book is brewing in my 50th year that is rapidly approaching. So I think there's a lot of lessons, you know, my 50 top tips or something. I don't know. We'll see. We will see.
Yeah, nice one. That sounds like a really helpful
Yeah, she did have another name for
I had
the
another
trip
name, but
today, we
because my
can't say
friend
it
is
for this
so
audience.
Oh, go on, tell us.
well, for those of you who have delicate ears, I'd put your fingers in them now, but my title was going to be 50 doesn't equal fucked. So there you go.
Well, I mean, that's a brilliant title. Absolutely brilliant, because it will grab attention.
Yes, it probably will. So we shall see how that comes together.
Yeah.
But I think I'll have fun writing that one.
Oh, yes. And those of us who are well past it, we're going to have fun reading it.
It's
So
just a new perspective on
Yes.
age. I think there's a lot to be said about women who are in the midpoint of their life and quit. And I'm about to tell you, quitting's not an option.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've got a few years on you, and here I am having gone, okay, I am not giving up. All of the people that I went at uni with, and it's a horrendous thought to think that I went to university 40 years ago this year. That's a scared look for the audience who are on audio only. The point is that all my cohort are now looking to retire. They're talking about retiring, and I'm going, retiring? To what? I know what you're retiring from, but what are you retiring to?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, don't you want to have a rest? I think, oh, no, I'm just getting going. So here I am, yes, 58, and single woman in Asia. And most people, when I turn up at a restaurant, they go, "Man, no." Oh, and get really quite concerned for me, because I am on my own. And
no, you're never on your own, Wendy.
I know, but you know, then the question is, children? No. How do I get into Australia? How old are you? No, I'm old enough to be your mother. No, you can go to Australia if you like, but I'm not going with you. And so I've had more than a few conversations like this. So learning to navigate cultural differences. I mean, Deva, you've done this plenty times.
Yeah, I can teach you some tricks about for Malaysia, for example. I'm not just pointing the country, but when you go in a restaurant now, just say like, my husband is on a business trip, my kids are away for school, just letting you know. So it's like you have a clear boundary.
Right.
That's a trick.
I have some credibility. Because
but that's a feeling as well that you're telling yourself, you know, like within yourself.
Yes.
But it's like a boundary that you're setting, that there's no, you can actually say, you know, I'm being proud of it, being on your own. It's not being alone. Yeah, so you're on your own. And you're still doing it, because a lot of people will have run away, like will have come back.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's the point. I mean,
it.
for the audience members who remember back in the day that film Shirley Valentine, I'm kind of a bit of a modern day Shirley Valentine in terms of, I may be a lady in my midlife, but hello, life ain't over yet. I'm grabbing it by the short and curlies and juicing it. So that's a little bit extra from my perspective. So you guys, the divine mess, you've got, Teena's got a book percolating in the background. Deva, have you got any written work percolating?
I got plenty, but it's not published.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it percolating?
It's like I can write, like it can get published or not, but I'm not looking forward to that part yet, because that's not my jam yet for this part of my life, I feel. Because I'm focusing on other projects, you know, like, for example, like the podcast as well is like, it's really, for me, it's a way of, because it becomes your way of writing as well, because you can just go back and listen as well and say, oh yeah, you said this, you know, like you can just include it in your book. And even like when Teena was saying like she's writing a book, her 50 tips, you know, like just an idea. and she's writing it, and she can go back to the episode and just listen to 50 episodes, and she will get 50 tips like out of it. And that's how podcasts, I feel, can help into the writing. But for me at this time, I'm focusing more on other projects. I'm giving more energy on other projects. But I do journal on a daily basis, and I do write about it. So I can go back to those journals if I want to maybe do a self-reflection, because I feel that the next one as well, if when it come out, it will be a self-reflective as well. And I like Jay Shetty style or Gabrielle Bernstein style of writing, and I follow them. And that's why I want to take more time before the book is like published.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Because I don't know, I think both of you have clocked the idea of why I'm part of the reason that I'm here is for my book, My Life with 20 Kilos, because that is the amount of luggage I have. I got on the plane with 21 and a half, but that doesn't have quite such a good ring. Yes. So that, and I will then be taking my work from page to stage. And one of the things that I'm really working on is not only the physical stuff that I'm letting go of, but also those internal scripts, that mental stuff. So yesterday was the end of my first month here, and I wrote my first reflection about the internal scripts that I'm letting go of and how that impacts speakers, because that's where this book is going, a reflection and then teaching from there. So yeah, that's my from page to stage journey that's coming up. So getting back to the podcast then, you cover lots of different topics, don't you? I mean, parenting, spirituality, things. Now I've heard you had a feng shui lady. You've talked to who was the one last week before? Sorry,
Be divine.
Be divine. Elizabeth.
That's it. Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. So lots of different people having different perspectives on the divine mess. And they really are fabulous conversations, audience. So please, please, please do go and listen to them. So as we're winding up then, is there anything that you employ, a strategy that you employed to embody those words that you've had on paper that you then take to the stage, bring it to life? I mean, Teena, you remember when we did the book launch, and I gave each one of the girls a coaching session, the difference it made in terms of simply reading and then reading. So is there anything that you bring to bear, maybe it could be a visualization, breath work, ritual, whatever, to make sure that when you are speaking, you're in alignment with what you've written?
I think for me, it's asking for divine help, because we all know that we're not here on our own, and whatever needs to be said and how it needs to be said to create the most purposeful impact is what will come through. Cool. So if it means I stand on stage and I cry, then that's what needs to happen. But if I stand on stage and powerfully deliver something and pick one person in the audience and they feel like they're having a conversation like this, and something rings home for them. I had ladies come up to us after the book launch and went, oh my word, that was really impactful, or I saw myself, or people underestimate their impact on others when they share their story. Exactly. So I think, like you said, everybody has a story within them, and it can powerfully impact others. It's just whether you choose to keep it locked in a vault or whether you choose to find an avenue in which it can be shared, because that's the great part about educating people, is that if you share your story, you're educating others.
Yeah.
That hopefully they can do it better.
Yes. It then means that your experience has not been in vain, has it? Because
Correct.
you've been able to share from your wounds, your scars rather. David, what about you?
I think I learned it from Teena because she always said like she allowed the divine to come in, and I do have a certain amount of preparation for me from my pod, because in terms of the guests that we are having, so I like to read about them a bit, like not in depth, because I like to know from really what they are bringing in the day. So I do have a ritual, like before our recording, I will light a candle and just invite the divine in, like that's my ritual, and just say, Spirit, thank you, Spirit, for speaking from me today. And it will just flow. Yeah. And for me, that's how it is. In terms, I know, like in terms of structure, if we do have one on the divine mess, we don't. Actually, as such, because everyone else, like most of our guests ask us like that was one question, like, do you have a structure, but most of them were spiritual, from the spiritual community. So we said like it's mostly like organic, like you just go with the flow. And that's what we did, and I really enjoyed that. For me, like just to go with the flow, and the preparation that I'm talking about is like just having their bios, like for me, that's how it is. But if when I'm speaking, for example, I remember like for Toastmasters as well, it will be the same. Like I would practice though more, like because you have a certain speech that you have to deliver on the day, compared to the podcast where it's very free flow.
Yeah.
But with time, now if you tell me to prepare for a speech to go for Toastmasters, I won't have that many notes, because I built the confidence of speaking, because English is not my first language. So the podcast allow me to practice English on a weekly basis, like even if I'm in New Zealand. But just to speak to the world is a different feeling. And when English isn't, when you're not thinking in English, you have to translate all the time. And when you know not just one language, that's a different story. And so for me, like speaking as well and writing gave me the opportunity to express myself in English to the world. So yes, I do get, like the punctuation or whatever it is wrong sometimes, but I learned to be confident with it.
Yes.
And that's the difference. Like I can tell you after 1 year that even if there's a lot of at the start in the podcast, I know that, I'm very aware of it, but I don't go there now anymore. I just appreciate it and accept it, because this is who I am. And for me, that was the journey. I feel like when you're saying like, like page to stage, that's my journey, my reflection that I'm doing like on the spot for you. Like,
Beautiful.
and this is how I do it. Yeah. And I
This is
learned
your
it from
stage.
Teena when
Podcast is
because
your stage.
because Teena keep coming on board and say, yeah, I just, like whatever happens, like, and just flow with it. And I said, okay, let's try it, like let's try it.
But I think
do
but when it's
practice.
organic, people are more relaxed.
Oh yeah.
That's what we have found, that it's they can settle into themselves better without thinking that they have to have strategic answers.
Well, no, I mean, that's the thing, is some podcasts are designed that the audience is expecting structure, and sometimes it's even, please give me a list of the questions that you want me to ask, so that I know that I can speak to you and you've got the answers. And therefore, for people who like that level of structure, then great. I mean, that's not the way, I know you two are surprised about this, but that's not the way I work. I like the organic conversation and having those 4 guideposts which I like to let people know ahead of time. But that's it. There are only 4 things that I steer the conversation around. But apart from that, yeah, let's have a good old chat, particularly about your written work and how you're bringing that to a stage. It doesn't have to be the stage, which everybody thinks of as being, you know, on stage, Tony Robbins, rah, rah, rah style. No, that's not everybody's cup of tea. Really isn't. On that note, you can charge your mugs. Okay, guys, is there anything I've forgotten? No, lovely. Well, thank you so much, Teena and Deva, aka The Divine Mess, for sharing your page, well, your stage to stage journey with us, and being wonderful examples, wonderful role models of what you can do when you put your mind to it. Thank you very much, guys. Bye from us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.